message from the BC Association.
Since the Bank of British Columbia introduced the Bonanza account in 1977, no other bank in Canada has paid a higher rate of interest than a checking savings account. Today, Bonanza is the top checking savings bank account because only Bonanza offers checking privileges and a higher daily rate of interest than any other bank in the country. Bank of British Columbia. Believe me, they're still on top.
BCTV, our best show.
Good morning. This is a bit of a personal memo to the man in the eye of the political storm in the Social Credit Cabinet. And that man is Bill Vander Zalm. Now, his lips are not sealed there, but his lips are sealed this morning, since he told me yesterday when I was talking to him very cheekily on an open line radio show in Vander Zalm, in Vanderhoof, that he has not yet decided if he's going to seek the nomination for social credit in Surrey in the expected election, which I think will come before May the 24th. Not only that, he has told his good friend, eyebrows raised, Bill Bennett, that he has not yet decided. Now, what does this mean? It's a very tough decision for Bill Bennett and Bill Vander Zalm. It means that Vander Zalm's nose is severely out of joint. He doesn't tell you this, but my assumption is that he wants the reins of the education ministry back or else. He thinks he's right on education. He thinks Bill Bennett is wrong in trying to cool the public furor. And of course, who's doing the negotiations with the BC Teachers Federation? Not Vander Zalm. You'll remember that the BC School Trustees Association don't want to talk to him. BC Teachers Federation doesn't want to talk to him. So Vander Zalm's deputy, Jim Carter, is doing these very delicate negotiations while Vander Zalm is trotting around the country doing open line shows. I don't think Bill will make up his mind, unless pressured by the Premier, within the next 2 weeks. But he'd better make up his mind, because the writ's liable to be dropped any time before the end of this month, or at the very latest in the first part of April. I don't think Bennett can back off from the brink again. He'll lose his enthusiasm and his forces, but he'll go if and when the polls tell him he's got a chance of winning. So, Willie, when you open your lips again, don't forget to open them here. Now, social issue this morning. I thought divorce was plenty easy enough in Canada as it is today. Not like the bad old days when divorces were so often a little bit phony. But the new divorce law certainly has caused a vast increase in the divorce rate in Canada. There are people who want to see no-fault divorces, even after 6 months separation. So to set you and me straight in this morning, I've got Karen Nordlinger, who is chairman of the National Family Law Committee of the Canadian Bar Association and who is a Vancouver lawyer. Something different now. Who is this Roman pony on this weird and motley crew making such a noise on my program this morning? They are, of course, the Whitecaps, and there are 2 of them. On the left of the screen is the handsome, indomitable Sam Lenarduzzi. On the other side, the smooth, sophisticated, couth Buzz Parsons. Here, not to sing again, you'll hear that song, but to tell us the score about the Whitecaps and their favourite charity. But first, Karen Nordlinger, after the break. Don't know yet, love.
Okay. 8 minutes?
Yes, love. This will be quite informal and casual, love. Karen Nordlinger, Vancouver lawyer, is chairman of the National Family Law Committee of the Canadian Bar Association. Let me put it to you this way. I thought divorce was easy enough right now with our exploding divorce rate without making it any easier.
You did.
I really did. Am I wrong?
I don't think it's easy for anyone. Certainly the divorce rate has gone up, and that's indicative of a bunch of things, including the fact that our laws are changing and are perhaps making it a bit easier. We now have a law that says you can get a divorce on no-fault grounds after 3 years. What Ontario is proposing, the Ontario section of the Canadian Bar Association, the family law section, is proposing that we make it a 1-year rule, and that you can commence your divorce proceeding immediately after separation, but that you can't get your decree for 1 year.
So you could get married on the Monday, you could separate on the Tuesday, start your proceedings on the Wednesday,
Yes.
go through with your divorce, but not get your decree until a year after that.
That's correct.
Now, what is this no-fault divorce? What do we have now? No fault in certain circumstances.
Yes, we have no fault, what is called no fault. It's actually irreconcilable kind of differences, or really separation for 3 years. You know, where the parties have been separated for 3 years, either of them can go in, provided that neither of them is a deserting spouse, they can go in and apply for a divorce after 3 years.
Let me clear that up. If you are a deserted spouse at the moment, you can go in after 3 years.
Yes, but if you're the deserting spouse, you have to wait 5 years.
If you're the one that walked out and left your wife and
right.
kids starving in the garret somewhere, you've got to wait 5 years.
That's right.
Now, no fault, therefore, after... What do you recommend in the National Family Law Committee? Have you come to a decision on it yet?
We haven't come to a decision on it yet as a body. What I would like to see personally is perhaps change the 3-year rule to the 1-year rule. But that doesn't mean that you can start your petition immediately. It means that you've got to wait and be separated for 1 year before you can commence your petition. I think 3 years is somewhat too long.
Now, back to the present law at the moment. If there is adultery for grounds of divorce, can you start that action at any time?
Yes.
Or if there is abuse and physical abuse and brutality,
That's right.
you can start that action at any
Yes.
time. Or if there's mental cruelty,
Yes.
you can start that action at any
Yes.
time. So when I say easy divorce, all I'm saying is it's easy at the moment on the face of it after a 3-year separation.
That's correct. Or if you've got those other grounds.
Yeah, but if you don't have those other grounds and you merely want to split it up, at the moment you've got to live
gotta wait.
apart for 3 years.
That's right.
Well, there's not really that much difference. The no fault after 1 year, would would the same thing still apply?
I think so. What concerns me about the Ontario suggestion is the fact that you can file your petition right away and not get your divorce for a year. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, so no fault would mean actually, if there were no fault whatsoever, it wouldn't matter if there were adultery or brutality or abuse or mental cruelty. On a no fault provision, you could just say, I want to end this marriage.
Yes.
After a 1 year separation. Is that good?
I don't think so.
Doesn't it make it too easy?
I think what would be preferable would be to keep the same grounds that we have now, adultery, mental and physical cruelty, and add the 1 year rule to it, so that if there hasn't been any fault, then you can go in after 1 year. But I don't see that it's necessary to take out adultery and mental and physical cruelty, because that denies a litigant, or a wife, for example, an immediate divorce. She can't get an immediate divorce if she's been badly abused or if her husband's committing adultery.
In other words, if you take away all these other provisions, no fault is to the advantage of I shouldn't say this, the bad partner in marriage.
It could be, yes.
Now, even if you come to this 1 year separation, with or without the no fault and the specific things, is not the biggest problem still the custody of the children, if any, and the sharing of the assets?
Yes, the money and the kids.
Money
Yes.
and the kids. If you're going for a divorce now, have you got to arrange all that before you go for your divorce?
Hopefully you will, because if you don't, you're going to have a trial, and it's going to be messy.
And expensive.
And very expensive, yes.
Now, what about uncontested divorces, where you've got this kind of new family where they've got no children, they both have jobs, they decided to get married for the appearance of things and they want to go. Should these uncontested divorces not be much simpler, or are they much simpler right now than those involving children and property assets?
Oh, they're much simpler right now, and
Should they go to court at all?
I think so. Perhaps in those cases there's an argument to be made that they should be done by way of affidavit or some other system. But Those cases are pretty rare in my experience. Most of the time the people do it themselves, so they don't need lawyers because there's nothing in issue. So they can go to court by themselves, they can file the documents. If they don't feel like having the hassle of filing the documents themselves and serving them themselves, they can hire someone to do it, a lawyer. And it's not that expensive. People think that we're, taking everyone for a ride with uncontested divorces, but I can tell you that most lawyers I know wouldn't make a living doing uncontested
There was a
divorces.
great wave a few years back, and I was part of it, I suppose, because we were all mad at the legal profession at the time, of do-it-yourself kits.
That's right.
Whatever became of the do-it-yourself kits?
They're still around, and whenever you go into uncontested divorce court now, you see lots of people there on their own.
Managing quite successfully? No problem whatsoever?
No.
Now, when you talk about the sharing the assets, is it a fact, Karen Nordlinger, that some lawyers dare to take a matrimonial dispute on the asset sharing on a contingency basis?
I've heard that, but I've never experienced it. I don't know of anyone who's done that. I've heard that.
It's conceivable that in a wealthy breakup, the wife might get quite quickly $1 million and the lawyer will get $250,000 for filing a few documents.
If you had a contingency arrangement, yes.
Well, there have been some, and I believe it's pretty official now that somebody's going to stop this question of contingency fees
Yes.
on the distribution of matrimonial assets. Do
I
you approve of
understand.
that?
Yeah, oh yes. I think that contingency fees in matrimonial actions are improper, in my opinion.
Is there a reason why we in BC have the highest divorce rate in the country?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I suppose it's just a matter of a very mobile society, but I don't know.
Now, have you as the Canadian Bar Association, made finite recommendations yet to this Justice Minister? We always have a new one. I can't even remember his name. McGuigan. And will he accept them? Have you any indication that he's looking for a change in the divorce laws on your recommendation?
He's certainly looking for a change, I think. I think that's quite obvious. And we've been informally told that if we make submissions, they'll be looked at. So we are going to try and make submissions.
All right, now just let me recap that, because I'm going to go to telephone calls. The Canadian Bar Association is seriously considering no-fault divorce and a 1-year separation.
Yes, that's the Ontario recommendation.
The National Association hasn't made up its mind
No.
yet. You may come to a compromise and say, okay, 1-year separation, but still maintain the normal grounds for divorce for instant action by the courts instead of dragging it out an extra year, where the legitimate grounds are now.
Yes.
Because I can get married today and divorced tomorrow if my husband beats the hell out of me
Yes.
the day after we come back from my honeymoon.
Provided you can get a trial date, yes.
Oh, how difficult is that?
Well, for an uncontested divorce, it's not too difficult. It would take 2 or 3 months. But if it was for a contested divorce, you're looking at a year to a year and a half.
Questions on divorce, old and new, to Karen Nordlinger of the Canadian Bar Association National Family Law Committee, immediately after the break. I think you might find considerable interest in both the current laws and any thoughts you have about new laws. I'm talking to Karen Nordlinger. Go ahead to Karen Nordlinger.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I read or heard something that the petitioner for a divorce could go to some other area other than a judge in chambers to secure his divorce. Is there anything to that, or is there some other person or some other place for the person seeking a divorce to be able to obtain it?
Right now, there isn't. That's one of the things that we're looking at in terms of getting an uncontested divorce outside of the court system. But right now in British Columbia, or at least in Canada, you can't do that.
Yeah, it seems like a better idea than going through that.
But only
You
with,
think so?
only with the qualification that it is a truly uncontested divorce.
Yes, and they aren't very, very common. In
Not
my
very
experience.
common. Go ahead to Karen Nordlinger.
Hello, Karen?
Yes?
Yes, I've been separated for just a little over a year, and there's properties involved. Would I have to wait for 3 years and a divorce before the properties are settled, or can they be settled before divorce?
They can be settled before divorce. Under the Family Relations Act, which is provincial legislation, you do not have to wait until you've got grounds for divorce in order to settle property, maintenance, or custody in this province.
Oh, that's great. Now, and then another question I have is that I was asked to leave the home, in which I left the home. Does that have any bearing on the case when it comes, say, to the end for divorce?
If you were asked to leave the home because of your conduct, it might have some relevance to a divorce if someone was going to sue you on the grounds of mental and physical cruelty, for example, or adultery. But that doesn't, or supposedly doesn't have too much relevance in terms of maintenance or property division.
Okay.
Supposedly. Talking about this Family Relations Act, is it an automatic 50-50 split of all the assets of the family, including the husband's business?
No. The court has a very wide discretion in any actions dealing with property, and it can vary the 50-50 split to 10-90 or 40-60 or however it wants to vary it. And the husband's business can come into it if there's been some sort of a contribution by the wife, and the contribution can be child rearing or household management.
So if she looks after the kids at home, she's made a contribution to business?
It could be found to be that, yes.
Could be found to be that. It's not just automatic 50-50.
No, it's not.
That's what a lot of people think.
Yes,
isn't
it is.
And probably the legal profession would like them to think that.
No, well, we'd like them to, we would like to have an automatic 50-50 split in some cases, but...
Yeah. Does the length of the marriage bear any relationship to the split of
Yes.
the assets?
Yes.
In other words, if you were married 5 minutes, you wouldn't have an automatic claim to...
No.
In other words, it's still as difficult for men who marry wealthy women or women who marry wealthy men unless they have a marriage of some substance.
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'd like to know if it's legal. Like, I'm separated now 6 years, and my wife and I haven't known where she is for about 4.5 years. And I just found out here 2 weeks ago that I'm divorced through my family in New Brunswick, and I'm wondering if that's legal, and how would I go about finding out whether I'm really divorced or not, so that I can remarry.
Well, you could write to the court in New Brunswick and find out whether or not there was a divorce decree issued in your name.
Well, we were married here in Vancouver, but she's not in New Brunswick. I don't know where she is. I think she's...
No, but Karen's telling you that the registrar of the court in New Brunswick, what's the capital of New Brunswick, somebody, quickly?
St. John's.
St. John, New Brunswick. If you wrote him a letter, he would in all probability, if you give him a date, go through his files and reply to you. That's your first step.
Do you think that maybe you weren't divorced in New Brunswick? You were divorced here?
No, I was divorced somewhere in I think, Saskatchewan.
Oh, well then write to wherever you think you were divorced and see if you can find out if there was a divorce decree issued.
Okay.
It may be that she served you substitutionally and you just weren't aware of it.
Thank you. Go ahead from Prince Rupert.
Yes, guest has partially answered my question a few minutes ago, but I'm not married at the moment, but I own my own house. Is
Yes.
it fair that if I get married and then, say, unfortunately 2 or 3 years down the line, it doesn't work out, that my wife should be entitled to half or a portion of my house, assuming there's no children or anything like that? Wouldn't it be much fairer if the wife or the husband, depending on which way it goes, is entitled to a percentage of the joint wealth that increases during the marriage? For example, if I'm worth $100,000, say, with the house, the time of marriage it goes up to 150, she should be entitled to half of 50,000. But if my net worth goes down, there should be nothing.
That's certainly one of the arguments that's been used, and sometimes successfully. It just is a matter of, as you say, fairness, and that's the test under the Family Relations Act.
Question, is there propriety or wisdom in a guy or a woman with money preparing a marriage contract, or whatever you call it, stating each partner's assets at the time of the divorce and agreeing that wealth accumulated beyond that be the split for the divorce, if any?
We aren't really sure how much credence marriage contracts are going to be given. There's certainly now provision for them in the Family Relations Act. I think that if you have that kind of situation where you have assets that you want to protect, it's probably not a bad idea.
Go ahead, please. From Kamloops.
Yes, I have a question for Karen Nordlinger. If you're separated for several months, say 4 months, and you went back together for about a month and separated again, would your 3-year period be started from the original separation or from the last one?
Boy, I think it's from the original separation. If you go back together for a period of less than 90 days, then your 3-year period is not interrupted. I think that's the way it goes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Right.
you. A singular lack of questions about the possibility of no-fault divorces altogether. All these people, of course, are symptoms of that vast divorce rate in British Columbia since the destruction of the family by the New Society, said he. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Karen. Recently, my wife and I had a divorce, and before we applied for the divorce, we agreed on property settlement, etc. And I asked my wife to go to a lawyer and have the agreement drawn up so she couldn't be prejudiced by myself, etc. However, went with the lawyer. He promised her to increase the settlement, etc., promising her income or cash element for my past university education, her contribution to it. As a result, I had to hire a lawyer myself. It cost myself $2,000, and it also cost my wife $1,500 in lawyer's bill.
Well, your wife was getting...
In settlement from our original agreement was $1,500 cash, which my wife had to use to pay the lawyer's bill. Is there anything that we can do about this?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think you can do
But
much.
the guy was right, at least in telling his wife to get independent legal advice. Is that?
Oh, yes. And in fact, I think that you're very wise if you have two lawyers involved. If you only have one lawyer involved, then your agreement may not stand up. And if one of you wants to try and upset it later on, they're going to have a good chance of doing it.
And generally speaking, that if there's any assets involved, the wife must have independent legal advice. Is that not correct?
She should have, yes.
She should have. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Jack. I was wondering if your guest could give me information on, like my wife is willing to step into court and admit adultery, and she has told me that she's not allowed to do so. You know, like she's up in Port Alberni and I'm down in this area, you know, and I'm wondering if this is real, or if we have to, you know, get lawyers together and, you know, work it out the other way.
Are you planning just the two of you to go to court by yourself and ask for a divorce?
Well, see, she's saying that she'll do it up there, you know, but, well, I suggested she does it up there, but I guess she talked to someone up there, and they said that can't be that cannot be done.
Do you understand that question, Karen?
I'm not too sure. I think that what you're asking me is whether she can go into court by herself and admit adultery and get a divorce.
Yeah.
No, you both have to you would, if you were petitioning her for divorce, you would have to go in and say that your wife had committed adultery. She would then either have to go to the same court with you and admit the adultery under oath, or she would have to do a pretrial procedure called an examination for discovery and admit the adultery under oath.
So therefore it's almost essential to have a lawyer involved in these particular proceedings, is it? Not really.
Not necessarily for simple adultery. You could do it yourself.
Question, is legal aid available for divorce?
In some situations, but it's been cut back, as you know.
That'll be on an MHR recommendation or something for the sake of the children, perhaps?
No, I think it has to be an urgent situation. There has to be some sort of urgency about it.
More with Karen Nordlinger. On the present system of divorce, nobody cares about potential changes after the break. Karen Nordlinger is the chairman of the National Family Law Committee of the Canadian Bar Association. When do you think you'll come to your decisions on your recommendations to McGeegan, perhaps to make divorce even easier?
Hopefully we're going to have a meeting in May, and if we can come to some sort of a consensus. If not, the provinces will make their own submissions.
But if you can't get ministers of justice, and I can name you 10 who can't make up their minds on simple amendments to the criminal code on soliciting, you'll never get a decision out of whatever his name is. From Victoria to Karen Nordlinger.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, I was wondering if you could help me. I was married in 1978 and separated in 1979. Now, I have been trying to get my divorce, and a year ago last June, my husband went missing. And every time I go to my lawyer and ask him what I can do, he says nothing.
Wow.
I get the runaround, and he tells me to contact people from where my husband was from to see if they have found him yet, which they have not.
Okay.
And I'm kind of getting worried, wondering what the heck's going on.
Any children?
Not through him.
Question, if she can't find her husband or hasn't got enough money to hire private detectives and just can't find them at all, what is the length of time in which she can take independent action if she's served him by some other way?
Oh, she could serve him right now. If she could show that she had made reasonable attempts to find him and couldn't find him, she could go to court and get a court order for substitutional service.
Mind you, she's got to put up the money up front for all these ads and things. Do you have to make many ads? Does that cost a lot of money?
It depends on what the court order is. If the court order may not be that it be ads, it may be that it's served on his parents or something like that.
Oh, in other words, you go to the judge and say, I can't find the old man and I want my divorce.
That's right, and I know where his parents live, and I know that he keeps in touch with them, and therefore the court may order that the parents, it be served on the parents.
But otherwise, if you've got to go to ads across the country, that could cost you a bundle.
Generally, it's not across the country. Generally, it's in the last place that he was known.
So that's
It's not a great expense.
Impossible task. From Prince George, please, go ahead to Karen Nordlinger.
Yes. I walked out of my husband about 13 years ago, and I was surprised that when I was before the judge, there was very little said or even wanting to be heard about my reasons for leaving, and that rather surprised me. And I was made to feel that I was the cause of the whole problem when my husband more or less got off scot-free, and I was wondering, is there that little concern really?
I think that feeds back into the whole idea of no-fault divorce and whether or not we should consider fault and whose fault it is. I don't know why, in your situation, you felt that way, or what made you feel that way.
I mean, after 13 years, it was a fairly automatic divorce, wasn't it?
That's right, but the length of separation obviously would have had something to do with it.
But you wanted some money from your husband, didn't you?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Well, I don't think you've anything to worry about.
No.
Or to feel guilty about in any way, shape, or form. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. What the devil's that? Hey, that's a funny one. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Jack.
That's me and Karen Nordlinger.
Yeah, my problem is basically, I think this no-fault divorce would be a great help to me, I think, because after a 3-month courtship, I married a girl. She left me 2 weeks later, took me for a bit, and now I find myself 6 months later still having 2.5 years to wait out, as far as I know. Is there any other possibility, I think, for me in my case?
If you could find that she had a new boyfriend or was committing adultery and she would admit it, or you could prove it by private detectives or any other method, then you may be able to get a divorce on the adultery grounds. But right now you're limited to the 3-year separation.
Boy.
Well, just look at it this. Look at it this way. You're lucky you're not pregnant. Okay. That's a fair remark. It could be the other side of the coin. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
That's you, sir.
Yes, Jack. I was just wondering, is there any set fee for an uncontested divorce, or is it like going out and buying a car, shop around and find the cheapest lawyer available?
Definitely shop around. They do range from about $500 to about $800.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good. God, what a quest for information this morning. From Vernon, BC, go ahead.
Good morning, Jack.
Morning.
I've been going through a terrible, lengthy procedure, and I got my divorce on physical cruelty in the spring of '80. But it took me 2.5 years to get a settlement. I couldn't get my absolute divorce. I've had over 20 court cases, and I still, even though it was finally settled, actually in court, but not before the judge, I haven't received the balance of the settlement yet. And it was sort of being harassed through the court.
Well, I can understand how you're upset. Can you give a general observation on that one, Karen?
Over $60,000 so far.
Over how much?
Over $60,000?
Have you paid that much?
Yes.
60,000?
Yes.
Are you a woman of means?
Well, I'm not going to be very long.
But you've got your divorce, you've got your settlement, and you can't get your share of the...
I haven't got the balance of the settlement.
Oh, dear.
Well, the only thing I can say is get a good lawyer. If you're not satisfied with the lawyer you have, change and go after him the best way you can. If your legal fees are that high, you might consider taxing them if you feel that you've been unfairly treated. And taxing is something that we can do or the public can do to lawyers'
You know,
fees.
obviously, though, if you're going to have 20 court dates and bitterness and fighting on each side, the bills are going to mount up incredibly, although that does seem a bit on the high side for almost anybody. I don't know what to suggest. You gave her the suggestion. You bill tax, you can change your lawyers if you've got enough money. Do you still have to pay out a lawyer's bill in full before you can switch to another lawyer?
unless you can make some other arrangement, but that's generally the...
In other words, the lawyer who's surrendering the case at your request wants a guarantee that his outstanding bill is still going to be paid.
Yes, sometimes you can agree that the bill will be taxed and that she will pay the taxed amount.
Good. Go ahead, please. Hello.
Jack?
That's me.
Yeah, Jack, I want to ask your guest, good morning, first off. I want to ask your guest about, if she could speak a bit about access or custody of children. I got a divorce. We both agreed to the divorce. We've settled on the assets, but on the access and the custody, we seem to have a big fight about it. Now, I understood by law that access was a right, not something you had to fight for. Could you give your comment on that, please?
Yes, access really is the right of the children to know its parents. And one of the things that I can suggest if you're having terrible custody and access problems is mediation, which is you can go to conciliation counselors who are attached to the Supreme Court of British Columbia, or you can go to someone privately. But it seems to me that often works very, very well. And if you're not getting any satisfaction through the court system, it may be because the court system really isn't set up to deal with those kinds of problems.
But maybe the court system has given an order which he doesn't like. Are you fighting an order of the... I think he's gone. But does one go with complicated family problems? Perhaps not a fair question. Can one go to the Supreme Court of BC automatically, or should one go through the provincial court?
One should go through the Supreme Court, in my opinion.
But that costs a lot more money.
Well, the family court, the provincial court, does not have any jurisdiction over
None
property.
whatsoever.
None.
But what about access?
Yes, it does have jurisdiction over access.
But basically speaking, for property and for access, the Supreme Court is preferable.
The problem with the provincial court is if you went to provincial court for anything, for maintenance, custody, or access, you could get an order there, and it may be cheaper, it may not. It may be cheaper to do it that way, but then you wouldn't have a final order, and the person against whom the order was made could then turn around and go to Supreme Court and try it again.
That's right. Let's do one more short segment. A vast interest in this problem this morning, as indicated by the burgeoning and explosive divorce rates. After the break. I'm going to ask you again, Karen, and this time I want the right answer. What is the capital of New Brunswick?
Fredericton.
Would people please stop flooding the switchboards in Victoria and Vancouver? We are terribly sorry, and we apologize humbly for slandering Fredericton, New Brunswick, which is the capital, and not St. John's. Well, my fault, too. Had done that. Unified Family Court. I hear that the Surrey Unified Family Court is going to be out of operation very shortly, if it's not out of operation already. Have you heard that?
Yes, I have.
Is that bad or is that good from your point of view as a person involved in all these problems?
Well, I have to make a comment about Unified Family Courts, first of all. Unified Family Courts were a good attempt at putting together family law problems in one place. The problem is that we have a constitutional problem that says that divorce has to be done by a superior court judge. And we have provincial courts that do maintenance and access and custody. So we've got a two-tiered system. And what happened with Unified Family Courts was that they put both courts into the same building, under the same roof, in an attempt to consolidate and to unify all these problems. What the real problem is that we need one court dealing with everything. We do not need a two-tiered system. A two-tiered system adds to the expense for litigants and adds to delay.
Without knocking any level of court, I would trust if the whole thing went into one court, it would go into the Supreme Court.
We would hope so.
Yeah, good. Sorry, was that the only Unified Family Court we had? Don't I remember one in Delta, or is that the
There's Richmond.
Was it Richmond?
Yeah.
Is that still going?
I think so, yes.
Maybe there's a
It's
constitution.
just the Supreme Court registry, or the Supreme Court part of it that's been closed. It's not the provincial court part of it.
In other words, we're taking away the judge who's sitting in Supreme Court judge to tie up the problems connected with the other access and maintenance things from the family court.
That's correct.
Get the idea. Now, Campbell River. Go ahead from Campbell River.
Yes, I was just wanting to phone in. I was wondering, when a person files for divorce,
Yeah.
and they are the innocent party, why they have to appear in court and the other person does not.
Well, that doesn't make much sense, does it?
No, it's just that if you're the person who's applying for it, then you're the one, unfortunately, who has to appear in court. If the other person, if there's no grounds for example, if it's just a 3-year separation and the other party does not have to appear. If it's adultery, the other party either has to appear or has to admit the adultery under oath at an examination for discovery.
A lot of people seem to forget, these couples who are divorcing, that they each made the original mistake.
That's right.
And they want to forget the fact that they made the mistake. And I think they should be reminded of that on occasion. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, yes, sir.
Am I on, Jack?
Yes, you certainly are. Get the
Okay,
part.
thank you. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning.
Karen. I'm just wondering if there's any figures on the average age of men and women being married in British Columbia, and if our divorce rates are so high in terms of, I believe, somewhere in the area of 380 per 100,000 of population, what our actual chances are of a successful marriage in British Columbia compared to, I believe, there's a 40% failure rate nationally. Since our rate of separation and divorce is considerably higher than the national average, would our rate of success be something like 60% failure?
I'm not sure. I think that you just have to extrapolate from the failure rate to say what the success rate is.
Does it keep climbing?
Yes,
I mean,
think
does the
so.
volume of business just keep coming on and on, recession or no recession as far as divorces are concerned?
It slowed down for a while, but it seems to be back up there again.
Or your rate could be as high as 60%.
What's this here? Average age for 1 in 3 marriages end in divorce, I'm told.
No, it's 4 out of 10, Jack.
Is it 4 out of 10?
Yes, that's the national average, but BC has the highest rate in the country per 100,000 of population.
Fair enough and much obliged. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I wanted to ask a question about pertaining to my son's marriage. He was married in Toronto to an American girl 12 years ago. They separated a year later. He lost track of them for about 6 years, and then he kept sending his address and his phone number to her family. And he would get a phone call every once in a while from her. And then when he wanted to get a divorce, she told him that they were already divorced.
An American divorce.
Yes.
Is that
She would
valid?
never send him any papers or anything.
Okay, is an American divorce obtained by a woman in American, obviously still perhaps an American citizen, valid in this country?
It could be if she had if she was domiciled in the state in which she got divorced, and the different states have different requirements.
And so she should be too. She's long left, been away 12 years, but mother-in-law is still worrying. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Am I on?
Yes?
Yes. I just want to know, why don't you want the uncontested divorces to go to, or instead of going to court and just getting an affidavit of service? Or not an affidavit of service, just an affidavit saying that instead of going to trial.
I think that for some divorces it would work. I think for the very simple divorces where there's no money and no children in issue, it would probably work. But I can see that
Well, no money and no children. Well, an uncontested divorce, you can still have children involved as long as it's settled.
Yeah, it's not the divorce itself that's really ever an issue. It's always the corollary things like money and children and property.
But those are settled beforehand.
Not always, and you see that's the problem.
Well, they wouldn't be contested though, or uncontested.
Well, does the court not, yes, they could be on the face of it uncontested, but does the court not want to have a look at the conditions for the children?
Sometimes the court wants to look at that, yes, and I think
Yeah,
it should.
but couldn't they look at that through an affidavit?
It's very difficult to do that, and I don't know what exactly they're proposing. That's part of the problem, that we don't really know how this process would work.
Well, I wasn't surprised, but the volume of calls this morning on the current divorce laws and the problems far outweighed any interest in the possibility of change. I've got the kind of feeling we don't need a change. But your committee will make up its mind, the national committee in May, and put the recommendations up to this fellow McGuigan.
Hopefully, yes.
My thanks to Karen Nordlinger. Most informative program indeed. Next. Oh yeah, they're going to get it right this time, after the break. I have with me two of that motley crew you saw in the song, Sam Lenarduzzi, Bobby's brother, and Buzz Parsons, another of the motley crew. Briefly, what's this song for?
Well, what's happened now, Jack, is that a fellow Martin Shearer came into our office complaining about the Whitecaps, and he said that he was upset that we didn't have a new song for a long
Now
time.
you've got a new song.
Now we got
and
a new
you're going
song.
to do something special with the proceeds from the new song. And let's see this Roman pony in action.
We're on our way. We all know what to do. Lead the way as we play a win for you. This time, more than any other time, this time, we're gonna find a way to win away this time. Getting it all together to win them all. What we'll set out to do, to give our all. That's our promise to you. This time, more than any other time, this time, we're gonna find a way to win away this time. Getting it all together, you get it right. This time, get it right. This time, it makes you all aglow. It makes you smile. And when you make your goal, it's all worthwhile. As we're marching on towards victory. This time, this time, we are a team. They all know what to do. We have a dream. We hope you're sharing it too. This time, more than any other time, this time, we're gonna find a way to win away this time. Getting it all together, we'll get it right. This time, 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 get it right. This time. All right, boys.
This time,
We'll get it right.
Right. The Roman pony is Tino Littieri, right?
He's the clown of the team, the goalkeeper of the team.
He's the clown and the goalkeeper of the team. What's it for? I thought that was never going to end. That ran 3.5 minutes. One of the longest clips we've ever put
Well,
on.
I promise you that the
Queen.
finished version is a lot better than that. I think that's one of the outtakes.
A bunch of hams and showboats, to say the least.
You've got to have a bit of fun when you're playing soccer too, and that's the fun for us, is doing that record.
Tell me about this guy, Martin Shear. We saw him vaguely in the control room.
He's a fellow that came in to complain about the Whitecaps, and he had
About your poor performance.
Well, poor performance on the field and that. And Peter Bridgewater, the president of the club, opens his doors to anyone who wants to do that. And he happens to be a songwriter, and he came in with some ideas about some new songs for the club. And we'd been talking about doing that for a couple of years because the old song, White is the Color, was done by the 1978 team. So it just happened that he had some good ideas. We decided to record a new record, and that's the end result.
What are you going to do with the profits, the royalties of the record?
Royalties to the record?
Yeah, who's getting the money out of this great, vast gold, platinum bestseller?
Well, we're having a press conference tomorrow to make some very important announcements to some relationships that we'll have with some important people.
Give them a plug.
Yeah.
Well, it's the Ronald McDonald House. We have decided that we would help support Ronald McDonald House as the Whitecaps' favorite charity this year.
This is your designated charity for the year.
Designated charity for this year, yeah.
Well, that's really quite good, isn't it?
The song turned out very well for us, and of course, you know, in '78, as Buzz said, we made that song, and the next year, of course, we won the Soccer Bowl, so we're maybe hoping for a repeat performance this year.
All right, tell me about Sam Lenarduzzi. Will you be in the lineup this year?
Well, I'm hoping so. I'm going to training all the time now, and I think the final decision comes to Johnny Giles, but in the meantime, Buzz and I both work in the office in the marketing department as well, so...
Hey, a couple of PR hats. Is that what you are now?
No, players first.
Sam, do you think you can make it? How old are you?
33. Just a young fella.
You're at the upper edge, eh?
Yes.
But soccer players can last longer than hockey because soccer is really a kind of panty waist game compared to hockey. Well, you don't hack and kick like you used to.
No, but there's a lot of running in it. A lot of running.
Yeah, I know, but the game's been cleaned up. They spoiled it. There's no blood in soccer anymore, is there?
Well, there's no fan riots here anyway.
That's only because we're not Scottish.
Now, 33, you're a defender, as you call it, and you're a back.
Defender.
A back, right. You were in Toronto for how long?
3 years.
Playing for the Blizzard?
Playing for the Toronto Blizzard, so I've seen both sides of it now.
You better come back here.
On a day like this when you can see the mountains, there's no doubt about it.
Now, how about Buzz Parsons? Biographical detail as a soccer star, please.
Biographical detail?
Yeah. How old are you?
32.
No, that one is over the hill.
Not quite.
Well, you know what I mean.
Oh, I know what you mean, yes. No, well, actually, we have to look after ourselves in case we do not play this year. This is why we're involving ourselves with the front office.
But you should obviously be on the team because you've both got good personalities. Have you stopped this business of kissing and patting each other on the bottom, or is that the Brits that used to do that?
That's still allowed. Still allowed.
Is that still allowed?
Yeah, that's still part of the fun.
That's part of the fun of being a soccer player.
Now, okay, officially business. When are you going to put 60,000 people into that magnificent downtown BC Place stadium? 60,000 people.
June 20th against Seattle Sounders. The very first game, the very first professional sport game at Empire Stadium. At BC Place.
Oh, John, can't forget.
Get it right. At
this time.
At BC Place.
You're gonna.
In fact, if we can get it 60,000 Empire Stadium, we'll be happy.
I know how you can get 60,000 in BC Place.
Tell us.
Free admission.
I'll mention that to Peter Bridgewater if you'd like to come
Every
down and see him.
Scotsman in town will go. If you get free admission. You might fill it.
Jack, if we give you free admission, will you come?
I'll come on a press pass anyway. I've never in my life, I will not foul my amateur status by paying for entrance to a public event. Either they know me and let me in, or I'll get in a snit and not go. No, but you didn't tell me your position you play.
I'm what you call a jack of all trades. I play in most all positions in the club. I've played as a defender, I've played as a midfielder, and I've played as a forward.
Yeah, okay.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
No, I don't believe that. April 17th, you start your exhibition games.
New York Cosmos at Empire Stadium.
Oh, they were the people you whipped in the semi-final in 1979. Is that
On our
right?
way to
Yes,
the road
that's
to
exactly
victory at
right.
the Soccer Bowl.
Against the Tampa
Bay Rowdies.
Tampa Bay Rowdies. So April 17th, you're going to have your exhibition game. Just one exhibition game at the stadium?
Just one game at Empire Stadium. We've been over to Vancouver Island last week for a preseason training camp, played 2 games over there, 2 victories, and we'll be playing Seattle Sounders games in Spokane, in Portland. We'll be playing Montreal in Victoria, as well as the Canadian Olympic team, and then New York Cosmos on April 17th.
And then the big game, stadium on the 20th against Seattle Sounders.
No, April 24th, the season
start of
opener
our season in
at
Empire.
Empire Stadium.
Yeah.
We have to play
When do you play in the stadium?
the stadium,
When's your game in the 60,000 seat place?
June 20th.
My mistake. That's 2 mistakes this morning. First 2 mistakes I've made in 20 years. I got the capital of New Brunswick wrong, and I got that date wrong. Exhibition games in April, the stadium June the 20th against Seattle Sounders.
Which is a league game, but it will be 5 games, or we'll be 10 games into our league by that time.
I understand. Don't confuse me with the facts. Okay, soccer fans, tell me what you really think of these two, whether or not they should be on the team. The song is great. Well, it's adequate. Get it right.
This time.
After the break. Where am I going? Go ahead to the new firm of Lenarduzzi and Parsons. Parsons and Lenarduzzi. Go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm just wondering, am I on the air?
Yes, you are, sir.
Yes, I'm just, you're the two gentlemen on there. I'm very supportive of them, and I hope they do make the team all right. And I appreciate their efforts in channeling that money into a good community organization like Ronald McDonald House.
Good.
And also, too, I'm also 32 years old, and you guys are mind blowers. I thought you're a lot younger than you are.
Yeah, but they're both at facelifts.
That's right. They're in makeup this morning.
If you look closely behind Buzzy's ears, you'll see the little tucks pulling up his chin.
The face is all right, it's the legs that are hurting.
That's right. You can get by with his face, no problem at all. Go ahead, please. In fact, they've already caused devastation around certain members of the staff in the studio this morning. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
That's you, sir.
Yeah, are they going to get Johan Cruyff back at all?
Who?
Johan Cruyff, the Dutchman.
John Clive, the Dutch.
Johan Cruyff?
Johan Cruyff.
Johan Cruyff.
Is that the question? Is it Johan Cruyff you're asking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as I know, he's back playing in Holland, and I think that's where he's going to finally retire, playing in Holland. I don't think you'll see him back in this league.
No, is he coming here in Vancouver?
No.
No.
He's back in Holland. Okay?
Yo.
Bye. He was a good player.
Very good player.
Go ahead, please. You bring out the brightest callers. Go ahead, please.
Top of the morning to you, Mr. Webster.
There it is.
Oh, there she is again.
Yes. Now, don't get curmudgeonly on me. I just wanted to ask your guests a couple of things, if I might. Gentlemen, I have been in the Kingdom when there have been fewer than 5,000 people there for a soccer game, and the place was like a mausoleum. So I recommend that you as front office people encourage the folks with the publicity to do everything you can to get as many people as you can into the stadium, or else you will be rattling around there like peas in an empty can, and both you and the fans will be uncomfortable, I prophesy. Do you know of any plans to have promotions such as they have, for instance, for baseball games, where they have perhaps the San Diego chicken, or they give away various objects to the first number of fans who enter the stadium?
Do you know of any such plans where you're going to bring in the San Diego chicken and give away such various objects as they do in baseball games to start and fill the program?
As a matter of fact, I think that falls into the area that Buzz and I both work in, the promotions coordinators, basically. And
mind you, it's difficult to play in an empty stadium, isn't it?
Oh, it is very.
Well, I think the biggest thing that'll happen this year is that the team will be so successful that people will flock there to watch us anyhow. And that we've had a marketing survey done over the winter period, and we found that the people don't come for free giveaways. People are there to watch the product on the field, and this is where we're putting all our efforts now
Just
to
the
get a
same
good team.
syndrome as we have in the hockey game. We're up against the Montreal Canadiens, and people move an arm and a length to get there. Or playing that dreadful Edmonton team who won last night by sheer happenstance and probably faulty refereeing and goal judging. Did you watch the game last night?
I did.
Heartbreaker, wasn't it?
Very much of a heartbreaker.
Go ahead from, that's hockey we're talking about. Go ahead from Nanaimo, please. Nanaimo.
Hello, is that me?
Yes.
Our second home.
Hi, Jack.
Hi.
To Buzz Parsons. Being a defender, but don't you think that Tony is a little bit too small?
Oh, Tino, you mean the goalkeeper?
Yeah.
No, Tino makes up for his lack of size by his agility. And last year when we played and Tino got an opportunity to play with our team for most of the year, he did an exceptional job, and we're looking forward to him playing as well this year.
God, he was certainly jumping about in that song this morning. Go ahead from 100 Mile House.
Good morning.
Morning.
Gentlemen, I was wondering if Willie Johnson is still playing this year.
Wee Willie.
Wee Willie. Willie's still playing in Scotland. The name of the team was, I think we were discussing before.
I believe that Willie's playing with Wraith Rovers right now in Scotland.
Well, that means he's gone down the tube a little bit, because Wraith Rovers ain't exactly the top soccer club of the United Kingdom. Used to be in the 3rd division when I was a soccer expert. I think they've only got 1 division in Scotland now.
Yes. Well, they have a Premier Division, and they have lower divisions as well still.
Well, Wraith Rovers might be in the Premier Division. Willie was a character, I've got to tell you, was he not?
Willie was a lot of fun to have with the team, yeah.
And go ahead, please. Hello.
Is Peter Lorimer going to be starting this year?
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, there was that question you asked Johnny Giles, and yes, Peter will play this year. He may play in all the games, he may play in just some of them, but yes, he is down to be a player and the assistant coach.
Well, how old is he now?
It's a good question. I think we'd have to ask Peter that one. I think he's just a little older than Buzz and I.
Okay,
But young at heart.
Okay, much obliged. Next one, I've done 3. Go ahead, please. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'd just like to say I love that song. And if everybody would sing it, you know, the TV and the radio, everybody in town would be singing that.
Much obliged, ma'am. Okay, you have one more segment to come up with some bright questions for 2 very bright guys. Not Tony Parsons. There is a certain resemblance.
Certain
They both wear the same expensive suits and well-fitting collars and ties. Beautiful hairdos. Well, you're not bad.
Not bad.
Where do you get that check? After the break. Yeah, Buzz Parsons and Sam Lenarduzzi are from the Whitecaps. They might be playing this year. You want to play, don't you?
Want to play, very much.
Makes a difference to your money, doesn't it?
It makes a difference to the money, but I'd like to play in that dome.
Yeah, it'd be great, especially to play in the first game in the dome.
Exactly. I'd love
First 60,000 crowd in the dome. I'm going to come to that one. I hope you get at least 30,000. Go ahead from Gibson's.
Yes, I'm wondering what are the chances of Vancouver getting the World Cup soccer tournament?
Because of the stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think our chances are good. I think it's come down to 3 countries now: Mexico, the United States, and Canada. And I think it comes down to facilities and support. But I think we could do it here, without a doubt. I think the biggest issue is that the FIFA, the world governing body for soccer, doesn't allow games on artificial turf, so we would have to sort of lay grass into our stadiums to be able to do something along that line.
In other words, you're saying it can't be done?
No, it can be done, because they've worked out ways of doing it. It's in the bid, and it can be done. So, I mean, we are in with a definite chance of doing it.
And what's the expense for that, for an international World Cup soccer game, whether or not the Whitecaps was in the game?
Well, the Whitecaps would never be in the game. It has to be the Canadian national team.
Oh, of course.
And if Canada was awarded the World Cup, Canada would be an automatic qualifier.
How many of your people play for the Canadian national team?
Currently, we have Bobby, Tino, that are actively playing, and other players are
Bobby has 2. Bobby and the Roman Pony.
And the Roman Pony. Leader of the band.
The leader of the band. He's the goalkeeper of the Canadian national team.
Yes.
What time of the year does the World Cup come around at?
It comes around every 4 years. So we're talking 1986.
1986. Just be ready for it then, wouldn't we? Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes.
Is me, is it?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Good morning. According to your TV here, them 2 young fellas almost look as good looking as you.
Almost.
Now then, they are 2 PR men, aren't they? As well for the Whitecaps.
Yes.
Okay. My question for you is this. My son is a drastic, fanatic Carl Valentine. Now, every time we see the Whitecaps on TV, he wants to meet Carl and shake his hand. Now, the last time I was out of town, my wife took him to the Empire Stadium, and he had the chance to meet Carl, and he run as though he was on the right wing. He ran away from him. He was so shy. Is there any possibility of finding out where my young fella can meet Carl in person?
Yes.
Yes, for sure.
Have you got any social events that I can take?
No, just a minute. You leave your name and phone number.
We'll take care of it.
And we'll take care of it.
After they've gone, just leave it with me.
No, you leave. Just keep the phone at your ear, and when I take the next call, you keep the phone at your ear.
Okay.
And a nice female voice will come on from Liz.
You know something? I'm like a kid myself. I'm shaking all over just watching you.
And she'll take your telephone number,
right.
And then Sam or Buzz will phone you, and we'll arrange for your wee boy. How old is your wee boy? 36?
My boy is 11 years old.
11. And we'll arrange for them to meet Carol. We can guarantee that.
Guarantee it.
Guaranteed. So hold on now.
Guarantee
He'll be thrilled to bits.
Well, don't hang up your phone.
All right, I still got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now open that one and take his number. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I was just wondering, is Buzz Parsons taken? Does he have a girl?
Buzz, are you taken?
Very much taken and very happily married.
Yeah?
Are you taking, Sam?
As a matter of fact, Bob Lenarduzzi? Bob's taken as well. He's married. Most of our family is married. I'm just in the process. I'm engaged and will be married very shortly in October.
So each of you is taken?
I'm afraid so.
Oh, okay then.
By the way, just a minute.
Yeah?
How old are you?
Me, I'm 24.
Any money?
Do I got money? Yeah.
Has your family got any money?
Yes, my family has lots of money.
Well, we might be able to find another member.
We got a few single players still on the team.
Now, you keep the... Thanks very much for calling.
Okay.
Bye. Isn't that dreadful?
She can come down to the training. We can introduce her to some of the other players aren't married.
Do you let these brass-necked female sports reporters into your dressing rooms when you're all coming out the shower?
There has been incidences throughout the years that, yes, there has been female reporters in the dressing room.
Do you approve of it?
Well, I mean, they're trying to do a job, so there's not a lot we can say about it.
Let's just put it this way, the players have a lot of fun when they come in.
Well, let me put myself up in Dutch with the Human Rights Commission. There are certain occasions when I hear women doing sportscasts. I don't believe a word they say. They have no credibility. And you can take that Human Rights Commission and do with it as you will. Go ahead, please.
Morning, Jack.
Yes.
Try and make these questions as pertinent as possible.
Good, that'll be a change.
I'll address this question to Bob first of all. There was talk about everyone speaking about the Dome, about having the England World Cup soccer team and the Canadian selects playing to open up BC Place. Is that washed under the carpet now or what?
Well, the official opening is June 20th, and it is the Vancouver Whitecaps of a sporting event versus Seattle Sounders. But there is our national team is playing Scotland in a few games, but they're earlier on, and they'll be in Empire Stadium.
I see. And you were trying to get all your efforts funneled into new recruits. What are the new recruits this year for playing on the field?
Well, that falls under the headline of Peter Bridgewater, and I know they're still doing their scouting overseas. So up to this point in time, I know they're still dealing with a few names, and we understand from Peter that there'll be at least 3 more signings.
All right. Thank you very much.
Why must we have Brits or non-Canadians? We need them still.
Well, I think everyone likes to see a few imports, and most other countries in the world are allowed 2 imports per team, and I think somebody always wants to see something different.
Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Jack.
Morning.
Morning, Sam. Morning, Buzz.
Morning.
I was lucky enough to have the Caps in Nanaimo last week, and we were also lucky enough that they came out to one of the malls and put on a demonstration. And all I wanted to say was a real pleasure to see the way the Caps work with the boys and girls, and it was really nice to see.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Hang it out till the end. I'll make it a free-for-all, but in the meantime, you know, you seem to be quite bright, and you're a lot brighter than I am this morning, I'll tell you that. After the break. Delicate decision. Ah, yes. We're all grown up nowadays.
Sure.
Debbie, one of my staff, really is going around goggle-eyed this morning. Pick one for Debbie, would you please, Pat? Pat's the director.
Yeah, she is.
You might have got her smiling. You've not got a live camera. Now put it up with Buzz, too. Can you do that?
Yes.
Can do that. That's Sam. Oh, she's so sad.
There she is with Buzz.
Oh, yeah, and just had her hair beautifully streaked this morning. That looks... Don't normally do this kind of thing on the air. Go ahead from Quadra Island.
Yes, good morning, Jack.
Morning.
Morning, Sam and Buzz.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I think I agree with one of the earlier callers there about the situation down in the Kingdom and the 5,000 fans. I think in order to fill that BC Place up with 30 to 60,000 fans, you got to have an exciting brand of soccer. And recently I watched Vancouver Island First Division match with Vic West, which were, 4-time Canadian champions or whatever, and they have an excellent brand of soccer. They're always on the attack. Exciting team to watch.
Are they better than the Whitecaps to watch?
Well, I think if the Whitecaps played Vic West as a team, the whole Vic West team I think Vic West will give him a good match.
What do you say to that, gentlemen?
We just came back from the Vancouver Island and we played a Victoria All-Star team and we beat them very handily 3-1, and that we never looked in doubt to win the game. In fact, it should have been more.
So the back of Buzzy's hand to you.
Our Vic West team, they've been playing the unit for the season, much the same as the Whitecaps have been playing together.
Well, that's good. It's a nice thought anyway. Quadra Island, oh, you occasionally get off the island, do you?
Yes. Jack, one more point that I think the past few years, the Whitecaps style of soccer has been always to pass the ball back to the goalie, which is very boring. And I think you've got to have more goal scorers on the forward line, and other than Carl Valentine or occasionally Thunderfoot.
Do you accept that criticism that you put the ball back to the goalie too often?
Well, I think if he's a soccer aficionado, as he says, he watches Vic West play, that I'm sure he watches Vic West play the ball back too, because that's all part of soccer. It's all tactics and the teamwork of playing.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, I just like to know one thing. In my entire life, I have never seen a championship team make so many changes after winning.
Oh, what a question.
The Islanders, they don't change their team after winning the Stanley Cup. That's why they win it 3 times in a row.
Is he saying that that's what you do in the Whitecaps?
I left in '79. I think I'll leave that question to Buzz.
Buzz?
Well, I agree, because at the time, being just a player and not being involved in any of the happenings in the front office, I know from the playing standpoint, we were very disappointed that we didn't have the same team back the next year after we'd won in 1979.
Yeah, you were.
And unfortunately, it's not our decisions. You know, there are underlying decisions that happen, and there was some contractual problems with a few players.
Yeah, I almost gave up on you guys because of that.
Well, don't give up on us, because
No, I won't.
I'm certain you'll be very pleased with the performance that we do this year.
Okay, bye. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
That's you, sir.
That's me?
Aye.
Yes, I just want to make a couple of points here. The Whitecaps couldn't even fill the Empire Stadium, just by thinking how they're going to fill up the big stadium down there.
Oh, you filled Empire Stadium on the odd occasion, haven't you?
Yes. When the New York Cosmos comes here. But here, we live in an international city here, Vancouver here, and 99% of our players here are strictly English players. Why don't they scout around the whole of Europe and get a couple of players from each country? And by golly, I'm sure that you're going to fill up that stadium down there.
That's surely not the answer.
Oh, well, come on. I used to play soccer myself, and look how Cosmos are filling up their stadium. They got international players. You got second and third class players here in the Whitecaps here.
They also have Warner Communications that owns the Cosmos, that they spend an awful lot more money than the Whitecaps in acquiring players.
Yeah.
I know one way you can fill the stadium. Get the Queen to drop in for 5 minutes.
Kick off.
That's a fact.
We'll
Or even Philip.
We'll invite Jack Webster to be a guest player for 1 game.
You think I couldn't do it?
Would you like to try it?
If you play 5-a-side for 3 minutes. Go ahead. They still play 5-a-side?
Oh, they do.
Great game. Go ahead, please. From West Bank.
Yeah, regarding one of your earlier callers asking about Willie Johnson. Willie Johnson is playing for Hearts in the Scottish First Division right now.
Oh, we slandered him by saying he was playing for Wraith Rovers.
Yeah, well, he's playing for Hearts. But the question I'm phoning up regarding is, I received the Sunday Post over here, Jack, which you should know that paper. And one of the statements in the sports page in the Sunday Post was that the Scottish national squad was going to be playing the Canadian national squad, but it was going to be the opening game of the BC play.
No.
Well, that's been changed, hasn't it,
It has
gentlemen?
been changed, yes.
It's the Seattle Sounders.
It's the Seattle Sounders now. And I was just phoning I heard them saying earlier it was going to be played in Empire Stadium, and as I say, it said in the papers...
well, it's wrong.
I believe the game will be at Empire Stadium on June 12th.
June 12th.
At Empire Stadium, Canada versus Scotland.
Okay, that's fine, and that is all.
Is this the Scottish international team?
Yes.
That's correct,
Yes.
Okie dokie. Are they still all wee bandy-legged bachels? Are they?
The best team in the world when they play together.
Are they bandy-legged wee bachels? Do you not understand me? I thought you could speak Polish like I can.
No.
He doesn't understand me.
No, I'm afraid I don't, Jack.
Where are you from?
Originally from Edinburgh.
Oh, that's why.
We're upper class over there.
That's right. Pride, poverty, and pianos.
I don't think so.
That's what we used to say about it. We also used to say something a little cruder. No, can't say that. Just can't do that. Could I? Should I? No,
no.
Bet not. No, go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes.
Happy St. Pat's Day to you all. I was wondering,
Do you think I'm a Celtic supporter?
hi, this question is for Sam. I was just wondering if you could tell me where your brother Danny has gone to, what team, and if it's for the season, and will he be playing?
My young brother Danny has signed for the Toronto Nationals, as they're called, in the new Canadian Soccer League, and he'll be leaving for there in another couple of weeks.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Soccer players are sex objects. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Jack.
Morning, sir.
Short pants that we wear.
Say a word to Buzz Parsons.
Yeah.
He mentioned the fact that to improve the crowds in the stadium, he's going to improve the type of soccer instead of gimmicks. I played soccer for about 30 years, and I'm a great fan of the Whitecaps. But the one thing one of your early callers mentioned was the fact that they get the ball up into the opposition's goal area and then start to pass it back. And it finally winds up all the way back with the goalkeeper. And that's continual right throughout the game.
Well,
and it doesn't make for an exciting soccer game, Jack.
Okay, Buzz.
Just to defend our team a little bit, I know that initially when we go out, we don't go out to say that we're going to kick the ball back to the goalkeeper. One of the problems we have in Vancouver is that we're a very successful team, and when the teams come in to play us, they play very defensively against us. And it's very difficult to score a goal when there's 10 players in the penalty area of the opposing team. So we have to bring the ball out and keep possession of the ball and then try and go back in again and try and score.
Fair enough, sir. Thanks very much. And my sincere thanks for the giggles we've had this morning with Sam Lenarduzzi and Buzz Parsons. And I hope you make lots of money on Get It Right next time for the Ronald McDonald House and your good cause. Very grateful indeed. Most enjoyable. The girls will queue up as the boys leave the station after the break. Fresh from the conference, a bit chilly at times, with the Prime Minister and the Premiers in Ottawa will be two of the top leaders of the Native and Indian movement in British Columbia, Mr. Manuel and Bill Wilson, tomorrow with Webster at 9 a.m. precisely. The Whitecaps with Webster on check at midnight. Two top Native Indian spokesmen on the constitutional problems. No good. How do I say it? Quick. What really happened at the convention? Yeah. Did the peace pipe work? Two top spokesmen tomorrow at 9 a.m. precisely.